there's all this stuff we can do. And the question is, out of all the things we could do to drive healthy employee commitment to healthy behaviors, what are the small set of things we should do? And that's really about what's in this packet that you have. So we did a survey with some of our member organizations and their employees to understand what sort of programs do you offer. Do you offer smoking cessation? Do you offer healthy nutritional diet? Do you offer weight management? Physical fitness programs? Okay. How do you incent them? Do you offer premium discounts, cash awards, raffles, all of it? How do you communicate around it? How often? What's the message? Who delivers the message? All that sort of stuff. All those things that you all can do here as you implement this healthy worksite initiative. And we wanted to figure out, at the end of the day, which of those things, one, make employees aware, two, get them to show up, and then three, ultimately get them to indicate that they've changed their behavior and have stuck with that change. So, and that's really what the Roundtable does when we do quantitative analysis, is we try to figure out of all the things that are affecting that outcome variable we care about, right? Which of those things that we can do really matter? So that's really what the rest of these findings are about. And if you jump to page 13, we've got sort of the so what on this page. And that sounds good, but so what? On the left, you're seeing the relationship between percent change in behavior on your vertical axis and a metric that we call employee commitment on your horizontal axis. And by commitment, we simply mean one's individual's motivation to an expectation to change their behavior. So probably not a surprise that the more committed you are, the more behavior change, healthy behavior change, you'll see. And again, that goes back to think of someone who does zero exercise to now they do 3 or 4 30-minute periods per week. That's actually what we measured in the survey. Or if they smoke a pack a day, do they now smoke half a pack a day, or do they smoke 2 cigarettes a day, or 0 cigarettes a day? So we know that if we can drive commitment, we'll see the healthy behavior change that we want. The next step, though, is to translate it into business outcomes. And whether you're in the public sector or private sector, there's someone who cares what the business outcome is, or what the organizational performance outcome is. And so what we did is we worked with health actuaries to say, okay, if to the extent wellness is getting people to change their behaviors in positive ways, how does that behavior change then translate into one, improvement in health status, which you measure through your HRA and your screening, and then two, into dollarized business outcomes, and that's what the graph on the right is. So what you're seeing is the relationship between percent change in behavior on your horizontal and 3-year cumulative per employee savings on the vertical axis. And those savings are both direct in terms of healthcare utilization as well as indirect in terms of productivity. And being that we do research, I'm going to have to digress a little bit here and just torture you with 1 page of methodology because you're probably wondering where the data is coming from. And it's a fair question. So page 17, you're seeing the model that we use to do this analysis. At the top, starting the left, there are things that employees bring to the table, and there are things that you can do. You can invest in and offer programs. You can communicate. You can incent. You can make policy changes in your environment. And then we're looking to see how that impacts employee enrollment and attendance in what you offer, and most importantly, their behavior change. And then where the actuarial model comes in is, well, how does behavior change translate into improved health status, and how does improved health status then translate into healthcare dollars, as well as productivity gains. And you can see a little bit of the detail on the 2 parts of the model at the bottom of the page. Scott.
Question, Jeremy. In that 3,000 realized over a 3-year period, a figure that I often see is that the productivity part of that makes up significantly more than half, sometimes 3/4. Do you have an idea?
Yeah. So depending on the health risk profile of your organization, as well as your turnover rate, productivity typically in the early years will be a larger part of the return that you see. That's probably not a surprise, right? Because the immediate impact should be less sick days and better concentration at work, better effort or energy at work. And so that's going to play out first. If that's to the extent that's important to making the case at your agency, then that's definitely something to dial up. So probably for many of the agencies here, there are performance metrics, be it safety, like Shyloh suggested, be it other outcomes. So I believe Phil here talked about that the firemen, they need to prove physical fitness, right, which is part of the condition for doing the job. There's something that you can tie the wellness program or investment to. It puts it in a language that business leaders or organizational leaders understand. So it's not some sort of soft, nice thing. And it's great when we have leaders that believe in it inherently. That gives us probably an unfair advantage over many other organizations or maybe some of the agencies here. But often that's not the case. So if it's important to making the case, then you should dial up that productivity piece because you're going to see it first. Typically, it takes 2 to 4 years for a wellness program to start showing up in a lower year-over-year rate of increase in employer health premiums. So in many organizations that have hurdle rates for capital expenditures, so building a new plant or launching a worldwide marketing campaign, it may be that a wellness program doesn't pass that hurdle rate because the returns won't start showing in that time period that is sort of the quality standard. Any other questions on the methodology piece?
On page 13 on the chart,
Yes.
is that reflective of the cost of implementing?
Good question. So these are returns. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to divide these figures by the cumulative per employee 3-year cost of providing the program. Both if you've purchased programs from a medical plan carrier, from a provider like a Staywell, any incentives that you're offering should go into that cost. Any budget for communication, anything that's the cost of providing or producing the wellness resource. A little bit of a plug here. We actually have a tool on our website that you all can use. It's called the Wellness Returns Calculator. What it does is it takes a little bit of information about your organization, or in your case an agency, where you can plug in information from your health risk assessment, like what % of the population smokes, or what % of the population consumes as a high-fat diet, and a little bit of information about your employees, like average age, your healthcare spend, things that you should have on hand. And then you can tell it, well, what are some of the things that you're doing around designing and implementing a wellness program? And it will generate for you a profile or estimated returns from the type of wellness program that you have. And it'll look at smoking, diet, and investments to support physical fitness as well. And by changing some of the things that you're doing on the wellness front in terms of design and implementation, you can do some sensitivity analysis around how different types of wellness programs might impact your potential return. And there, all you need to do, again, is just take the figures and divide it by the cost, and you've got your ROI. So that's a resource that's available to all of you, and if that's of interest, you can go through Scott and can connect you to us. And page 15 really presents the 3 major hurdles, and I think at least one of these is probably familiar to all of you, that our members face in making sure that their wellness investments are paying off. So on the left, we've got evaluating the investments. Right? You all are getting data from on-site screenings and health risk appraisals. You're getting a lot of data. And it's really difficult to sift through that and say, okay, how is this guiding us to then structure a wellness program? What should we do? We can still offer, vendors sell packages of 2 to 3 dozen online or telephonic coaching programs. Do we need all of that? Is that right answer? So that's the first challenge that we need to figure out, is actually how to tailor a wellness product to our employees or to our consumers.